Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Minnesota Home and Garden. I'm Abby, and we are in the front yard. So this past week, this is just our weekly update. I think today is what, June 29th today? Maybe it's the 30th. We're getting close to the 4th of July, and things are not exactly heating up as usual. We're still getting good harvests. Unfortunately, we got some windstorms, and we've had a lot of extra rain, so some of the complications with that, our raspberries have kind of rotted on the vine a lot worse, so we lost quite a bit of those. Didn't really get much of a cherry harvest that we had hoped for. We're gonna do some spraying today. We'll do more of the copper fungicide all over the tomato plants, wherever we see blight, we're gonna do that. Just a reminder, if you wanna come over here, the squash vine borer has been out. We've seen it in our yard multiple times, and they burrow into really any vine. And here's a pumpkin vine right here. So you're going to want to spray it at the base with an insecticide that has spinosad. That's the only one that's going to be effective with beetles. And you know, if you don't want to spray, that's totally up to you. Using neem oil will not be enough for that beetle. And what happens is they go into the vine and they basically kill the whole plant pretty quickly. It kind of does overnight damage. It looks fine, and all of a sudden it's just gone. They can affect your melons, and it can also affect your cucumbers, so make sure to spray those as well. Again, those are organic products, so it's probably the best way to go. And I'll bring you over here. We're going to start harvesting. We've harvested some beets, turnips. I'm sure if you planted radishes, you already harvest those, maybe multiple times even. We've had cool weather and great rain. I'll show you here. This has kind of been our experimental turnip, if you want to just take a look. And we just kind of wanted to see how big it would get. I don't think I've ever had turnips or beets turn this large. So just a word of advice for any root crop, the best and easiest way to harvest is just to push it in first and then pull it out. It's the fast, it's easy, you don't need to dig. And that's just a beautiful, pretty average sized turnip right here. Turnips are great, you know, diced up in salad. They're kind of slightly spicy like a radish, or you can roast them with olive oil just diced up on a pan. And I think that that's probably our favorite. Recently we boiled a bunch, mashed it, we added garlic, cream, cheese, a little bit of lemon, and baked it, and that was pretty good. But I think just roasted with olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper is the best. These keep pretty good in the fridge for a while. You have to take the green tops off first though. These are pretty tasty greens. You can pick out the ones that look the best. But let's go ahead and harvest this big guy. Ooh. Okay. The coolest thing about it, with our mild temperatures this year, we've had a lot of earwigs and slugs, but for the most part, I would say this is a pretty perfect and blemish-free turnip. If you're curious, I'll add into the video later how much this weighs. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep harvesting these today and go in the backyard and see what we have to look at. I think pretty much all of our fast cabbages, our soft Chinese cabbages, we've harvested. And we'll just be kind of anxiously waiting for our hot weather crops like our tomatoes. A lot of our tomato plants over here are setting a lot of fruit. If you come take a look. This is so cool. Look at this beautiful one. Lots of tomatoes here. The Juliet is a grape tomato, and this one is just prolific. We always get tons of harvest there. So you just got to make sure you're on control of your, this year with the rainy wet weather, your fungicides, making sure you have good drainage. Also, we tested our garlic. We usually do not even consider harvesting our garlic till mid-July, but we saw a couple that were kind of bent over and kind of had some spotting at the base. So we harvested 2 heads of garlic, and it's really early for that, but we would rather get small garlic heads than no garlic because it rotted. And unfortunately in Minnesota right now, it's been such a rainy, cool season that a lot of people do have unfortunately rotted garlic, and they won't be able to harvest anything. So we're kind of debating right now if we are going to harvest those before the 4th of July. We might just do half. One of the garlics that we pulled out had mold at the base of the roots, but the bulb was fine and it will dry just fine. And the other one was perfectly fine. So we're kind of on the fence of what we're gonna do. So we'll just, in a minute here, we'll harvest all these. So you might be wondering why we're harvesting all our turnips now. Why not just get them super large? Well, sometimes when you let a plant go too long past their full maturity, they get woody, they don't taste as good, they lose their flavor. But another really important part of gardening is the aspect of perpetual gardening. So after we harvest all of these turnips here, we will replant this row with another root vegetable. We can do carrots, we'll probably do mostly beets because we love beets here and they keep super well. But that's with these crops that are, 60 days, 70 days, if you plant them early enough, you usually can get 2 or even 3 rounds of crops. So it's another reason to keep harvesting, keep going. You can plant something else and then get another harvest. And now just another quick update of our garden trellis here that I'm pretty sure we got from Garden Supply Company. As you can see, our green beans, our melons, our cucumbers are growing way up. Eventually these will be completely covered. And when you come in here, it's so much easier to harvest just from in here, and it's nicely shaded. I just feel like doing something like this, if you have a compact urban garden, is just the way to go. You save space, but it's also just a really pleasant way to harvest your garden. So, I mean, look at all this foliage. Everything just grows great. Eventually, we're gonna have lots of beans here. I can't wait. We just need to get that warm weather going. So we'll meet you out back. Okay, so we're in the side yard here. This is my oldest peach tree. Just a couple weeks ago, I showcased all the beautiful peaches on here and talked a little bit about the squirrels, what a nuisance they are. Sadly, we had terrible windstorms on top of too much rain. As you notice behind me, some pretty significant 3 huge branches came down full of fruit. We probably lost 100 peaches. I'm still trying to salvage them, although it's probably not possible. And as you can see, this is pretty heavy and bent over. It kind of got damaged from the storm and those heavy limbs kind of pulling down, same with this one. So we're not really sure what we're gonna do. We're thinking of strapping it up a little bit. We just wanna make sure these branches are kind of susceptible in case there's another storm that comes through. We kind of wanna just brace these as best as we can. You can't really fight Mother Nature, but we're just gonna try to support it as best as we can so we can still harvest what we have left here of peaches. So kind of a bummer. We might be doing, I have like a black tar type tree product. It's probably important that we put some of that on here. In the middle of summer, when it's warm out, your fruit trees are really susceptible to diseases and different funguses. It's not really a good time to prune your tree, but of course, unfortunate things like this do happen. So we're probably gonna coat this to make sure the rest of the tree is salvageable, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, so we're out back, and I don't know if you remember, but early this spring, I showed you guys how to propagate grapes. You can do this for pretty much a lot of trees, a lot of plants, even woody herbs like rosemary. This is totally a good way to do it. Now, half of them we put in our basement and just kind of nurtured them down there, and the other half we left in the elements. And what you see here on this side of the table are the ones that are left outside. They totally worked. It totally is fine. There's definitely foliage. And then these are the ones that were in the basement. And honestly, the only big difference is this has more foliage. They grew faster, which is to be expected with the milder temperatures. And then of course, anything you grow inside, you have to kind of wean it off and prepare it to come outside. So it's an additional step. So if you are strapped for space, this is a great way to go, just to leave it outside. Just know that it's going to be a little bit more slow, but they both methods worked excellent. So if you want to try my propagation video out early spring while your plants are still dormant, this is a great way to propagate your grapes and share your plants with others, or expand your garden as well. So we're back by the Brassica tunnel. If you want to come over here, our blue Savoy cabbage is just looking absolutely perfect. I know it's covered so you can't see it super well, but the bugs have stayed out of this section really well. We've had a little bit of bugs creeping over there. Once again, I just don't always like to spray unless I absolutely have to, and I think everything else that we're going to harvest for the rest of the year should be fine, just be covered like this. But I'm pretty excited to get some cauliflower. We've harvested, I think, pretty much all of our broccoli. Unfortunately, we didn't get super big heads. It was starting to flower, but we'll still take it. If you come back here, I'll kind of show you. The nice thing about certain types of broccoli, depending on the variety that you grow, is you get these tiny little offshoots. You can harvest the big head in the center, and then it will continually to shoot out for a while, tiny little offshoots if you want to extend your harvest. Something need to remember too is you can harvest the entire plant. So these leaves are totally edible if they look great, and we're organic over here. You can slice these up and cook them no different than you would collards. Our vining plants are looking really good here. We've got some cucumbers, a squash, and a lot of winter beans. This is our burpee, I think it's triple crown bicolor sweet corn. It is looking excellent. There's an old saying, knee high by the 4th of July, and obviously this is doing very good. We noticed a little bit yellowing of the leaves at the bottom. It could just be because we've had like very, very heavy rain this entire season. So some of the nutrients might have been just a little bit washed out. It still looks super healthy and super green for the most part, but we might just do a tiny little bit of all-purpose organic fertilizer. Same with over here. This is our other type of sweet corn. It's called ambrosia, and that is just a wonderful sweet corn. It's a little bit smaller, it's growing a little bit slower, but it still looks excellent. Our celery, this is, I mean, can you believe how much bigger this is from last week, and lush. It's looking very healthy and very delicious. We've got a bunch of pepper plants here, and as you can see, they're already setting fruit. We can't wait to enjoy these. These are, if you've never had them before, they're Hungarian sweet peppers. They're kind of small, and they're great for stuffing. They're thick-walled. Last year, we grilled them, and we put inside jalapeno goat cheese. It was just delicious, so I highly recommend. Our eggplants have also gotten quite large. I think it's going to be a great season for those. As you can see, the leaves for the most part look really good. We didn't spray it with anything. Can you believe that these are the carrots that we were just looking at about a week ago? They're looking really excellent. Our tomato plants over here have gotten extremely tall, as you can see, and there are lots of buds on them, lots of tomatoes setting. We usually start getting our first harvest of cherry tomatoes at the end of June. Possibly because of the mild temperatures and heavy rain. That might be probably the first or second week of the 4th, around the 4th of July. We'll see what happens. But usually your slicer tomatoes, your larger tomatoes are end of July, early August if you're in the north in Minnesota and other cooler climates. But we're excited. We grow a lot of tomatoes here. We can almost all of our own tomato soup, spaghetti sauce. We make our own ketchup. You can make your own barbecue sauce. I might do some canning videos later in the season as the produce becomes available. If you want to come over here, it's kind of exciting. This is when the yard starts looking really beautiful. The last couple weeks, we've just been working hard on weed trees and stuff like that. As you can see, I need to like thin out my flax quite a bit, but our Somerset grape is here. Some of the Somerset grapes molded on the vine because of all the heavy rain, but some still look really great. Our flax are starting to bloom, and I love these. These are our tall lilies. These will be really beautiful, and they should probably start blooming soon. Look at our apple mint. It does spread, but it's such a good mint. You can get so much harvest from it. You can start harvesting all of your herbs now and just get a perpetual harvest the entire year. That's the best way to handle an herb. And I'm just gonna give you a little bit quick tutorial. There's two main herb families, and it's kind of the carrot family and the mint family. And if you want to just follow me to our herb garden here. If you're not sure if it's a mint family or it's a carrot family herb, here's one way you could take a good educated guess. Mint family herbs all have nodes like this, node, 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 and you always want to cut them right above a node. And it will keep, then these nodes will grow offshoots and offshoots and offshoots. It's a little bit different with the carrot family. I'll come over and show you our parsley. This is a really good example. There's a bunch of parsley. Now, it doesn't matter if it's Italian parsley or curly parsley. A carrot family, you're gonna wanna cut it down to the base, and then it'll bring out a new offshoot. If you start harvesting your herbs correctly, you'll get a much bigger harvest. You'll have better looking herbs, and it's just really important to keep cutting your herbs throughout the year. That's how they stay fresh, that's how they're the most delicious, and they don't get overgrown. So that's pretty much it for our garden update this week. We're gonna possibly harvest our garlic early just to prevent molding or rotting at the base of them because of the heavy rain. We've been taking care of a lot of weed trees. That's one blessing of the rain. They've been much easier to get rid of. We still have a lot more thinning out and gardening to do, but we're kind of at the period where you're done planting everything and you're kind of waiting just for that perfect harvest, and that'll get kind of exciting. So things are starting to bloom, things are starting to set, and before you know it, we're gonna have tons of cucumbers, tons of tomatoes to enjoy, and I can't wait to show you guys. So I can't wait to see you next week. I hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July. Thanks for watching my channel. I hope that inspires you to garden more. We'll hopefully see you next week.